If a woman ever looks at you and thinks he's weak, she won't say it out loud. She'll just lose respect, lose attraction, and quietly drift away. Weakness doesn't always mean muscles or money. It's the small signals you give off without knowing. And today, I'll break down 7 signs women instantly notice that show you're weak, so you can fix them right now before it's too late. Welcome back to Brainify On. If you're serious about relationships, psychology, and becoming a stronger version of yourself, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on insights that can change your life. Now let's begin. 1. You always need her approval. Picture this. A man is standing in a store holding 2 shirts. He can't decide which one to buy, so he pulls out his phone, snaps a photo, and sends it to his girlfriend with the caption, "Which one should I get?" At first, she might find it cute, even flattering, but after the 10th, the 20th, the 100th time, it starts to eat at her respect for him. Here's the thing. When you constantly need her approval for every decision, whether it's as small as buying a shirt or as big as choosing your career path, you're telling her something deeper. You're saying, "I don't trust myself enough. I need you to be my compass." Women are intuitive. They pick up on this quickly, and while she might not complain, she begins to feel the weight of being your decision maker. You know what that does? It flips the roles. She becomes the leader and you slowly shrink into the background. No woman wants to feel like she's dating a child who can't think for himself. She might love giving advice, but she doesn't want to carry the burden of your manhood. Strength, on the other hand, isn't loud or stubborn. It's quiet independence. A man who can decide, act, and own his choices without running to her for constant validation is a man she respects. Notice, respect doesn't come from perfection. It comes from direction. Women don't need you to always be right, but they need to feel that you trust yourself. Ask yourself this. Do you ask her what to order, what to wear, where to go, what to say? If you can't breathe without her stamp of approval, you've already handed her the power. She won't say it, but she'll feel it. And every time she feels it, the attraction dies a little more. Fix it by learning to stand on your own choices. Pick the shirt, choose the restaurant, decide where you're going in life. If she agrees, great. If she doesn't, that's fine too, because real men aren't chasing approval. They're living with conviction. 2. You avoid conflict at all costs. Imagine you're sitting at dinner. She makes a sarcastic comment that cuts deep, something you don't like. You feel it in your chest, but instead of calmly saying, "I don't appreciate that," you smile, nod, and change the subject. You tell yourself you're keeping the peace, but what you're really doing is teaching her she can cross the line and nothing will happen. Men often confuse avoiding conflict with being a good guy, but avoiding conflict isn't peace. It's fear. It's the fear of losing her, fear of making her upset, fear of standing your ground. Women don't consciously want to fight, but they subconsciously test your strength. When you avoid every conflict, you fail the test. Think about it like this. If a storm hits, would you trust a captain who hides under the deck or the one who stands firm at the wheel, guiding the ship through the waves? Women want the second man. They want to feel safe knowing you can hold your ground when things get tough. Weak men think saying yes to everything will make her love them more, but it only makes her lose respect. She may stay, but inside she's checking out. She wants to know if you have boundaries, if you can calmly say, "That's not okay with me." And listen, standing firm doesn't mean yelling or throwing a tantrum. It means speaking up with calm strength. It means not folding every time tension appears. Conflict isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of realness, and how you handle it tells her if you're strong or weak. 3. You over-explain yourself. Ever noticed how some men talk themselves into a corner? They give endless reasons for the smallest mistake. They're late, and instead of simply saying, "Sorry, traffic was heavy," they go into a long story. First, the light turned red, then there was a car in front of me that wouldn't move, then the gas ran out, and then my phone died. It doesn't sound honest. It sounds insecure. Over-explaining is really about fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of disappointing. Fear of losing her approval. But here's the catch. The more you try to explain, the weaker you look. Women notice this instantly. A man who can stand in silence, own his actions, and keep his words simple is powerful. Why? Because he doesn't need to convince anyone. His presence does the convincing. Think about leaders you admire. Do they talk endlessly about why they made a choice, or do they stand firm, say a few words, and move forward? Exactly. Women feel the same way. When you over-explain, you're basically saying, I'm guilty, please forgive me. But when you own it, you send the message. I know what I'm doing, and I don't need to justify myself. Fix this by practicing brevity. Say what you mean, then stop. If you're late, own it. If you made a mistake, admit it once, not 10 times. Confidence isn't about defending every little thing. It's about knowing you don't need to. 4. You put her above your purpose. Here's a story I see play out all the time. A guy gets into a relationship and suddenly his whole world shrinks down to her. The gym, skipped. His goals, on pause. His friends, barely sees them anymore. His dreams, forgotten. Everything he does revolves around her, her schedule, her mood, her wants. At first she might smile, thinking, wow, he really loves me. But deep down, she starts to feel something different. Pity. And pity is the slow death of attraction. Why? Because women don't want to be your purpose. They want to be part of your purpose. When you abandon your mission to orbit around her, you stop being the man she was drawn to in the first place. The man who had drive, ambition, fire in his eyes. That's the man she wanted. But now all she sees is a man who traded his backbone for her approval. Think about it like this. A lion is respected because it's the king of the jungle. It hunts, it protects, it leads. If that same lion spent all day licking someone's hand like a pet dog, would you respect it? Of course not. That's what happens when you drop your purpose for a woman. Women are attracted to men with direction. They want to feel like they're joining a story that's already in motion, not becoming the entire story. When she senses that you've made her the center of your universe, she doesn't feel special. She feels smothered. And once that pity sets in, she'll pull away because no woman wants to carry the burden of being your everything. Fix this by putting your mission first, not in a selfish way, but in a balanced way. Keep chasing your goals. Stay disciplined with your craft. Never stop becoming better. Let her see you're a man who has a life she can join, not a man who's abandoned his life to sit at her feet. Because the truth is simple. The moment she feels you need her more than your purpose, she loses respect. And when respect dies, love doesn't last. 5. You can't say no. This one is brutal because a lot of men don't even realize they're guilty of it. They think saying yes to everything makes them a better partner. They say yes to plans they hate, yes to spending money they don't have, yes to staying up late even when they're exhausted. They bend and bend some more until eventually they snap. Women don't respect a man who can't say no. It's not about being controlling. It's about showing you have boundaries. If every request, no matter how unreasonable, gets a yes from you, then you're not a man in her eyes. You're a doormat. And women don't love doormats. They wipe their feet on them. Think about how kids test their parents. A child pushes limits not because they want no boundaries, but because boundaries make them feel safe. It's the same with women. When you calmly say, no, I'm not okay with that, you're not being cruel. You're showing her you have self-respect, and self-respect is the root of all respect. Let's be clear, saying no doesn't mean yelling or rejecting everything she wants. It's about balance. It's about standing firm when something crosses your line. Maybe she asks you to cancel on your friends for the 3rd weekend in a row. Maybe she pressures you into spending money you know you shouldn't. If you say yes just to avoid conflict, you're teaching her that her desires matter more than your boundaries. Fix this by learning the power of calm refusal. A simple, steady no, no excuses, no justifications, just no. At first, she might get upset, but over time, she'll respect you more. Because a man who can't say no will never be truly respected by a woman. And without respect, attraction won't survive. 6. You overshare your emotions. Now listen carefully, because this one gets misunderstood. I'm not saying men should bottle everything up. I'm not saying you should never share how you feel. But there's a difference between emotional openness and emotional dumping. Picture this. A guy texts his girlfriend every single detail of his day, how stressed he is, how worried he feels, how insecure he's been. Every small fear, every passing doubt, he pours onto her like she's his therapist. At first, she might feel needed, but over time, it becomes too much. She doesn't see strength in him anymore. She sees fragility. Women want to feel your depth, yes. They want to know you're not a stone, but they also want to feel your steadiness. A man who shares his emotions in balance shows honesty. A man who overshares every emotional wobble shows weakness. Think of it like a pillar holding up a roof. If the pillar shakes every time the wind blows, the roof doesn't feel safe. That's what happens when you make her the dumping ground for every fear. She stops seeing you as her man and starts seeing you as another weight she has to carry. Fix this by practicing emotional control. Share, but don't overshare. Express, but don't unload. Talk about what matters, but don't make her your emotional trash can. Keep some of your processing to yourself or with male friends or through discipline. That steadiness is what gives women a sense of security. And security is the foundation of desire. 7. You beg for love. This is the lowest form of weakness, and sadly, many men fall here. A woman says she's leaving, and instead of calmly letting her go, he drops to his knees, sending long texts, begging, pleading, "Please don't leave me. I'll change. I can't live without you." In that moment, he's not her man anymore. He's a child clinging to his mother. And nothing kills attraction faster than pity. Here's the hard truth. Love can't be begged for. If you have to beg, you've already lost. Because attraction is about value and begging screams low value. You're telling her, "I don't see myself as worthy unless you pick me." And women pick up on that instantly. They can smell desperation like smoke in the air. Think back to the strongest men in history or even in your life. Do you think they begged anyone to stay? No. They understood that love must be freely given. And if it's not, it's better to walk away with dignity than to crawl for scraps. Fix this by remembering your worth. If she can't see your value, that's her loss. Walk away with calm strength. Go silent. Focus on your growth. A man who respects himself enough to never beg is a man women can't forget. Ironically, the moment you stop begging and start living with dignity, that's when she feels the sting of losing you. Because begging is weakness, but silence, that's power. Those are the 7 signs women see as weakness. And here's the truth. Every single one of them can be fixed. But only if you stop lying to yourself and start living with strength. Respect yourself and she'll respect you. Lose yourself and she'll lose you. If this spoke to you, hit that like button and share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. Which of these signs do you see the most in men today? I'll be replying to your thoughts. And don't forget, subscribe to Brainify On for more psychology and relationship insights that'll keep you one step ahead in love and in life.